Welcome, restless souls, to Carman's Crypt. I'm Carman Carrion, keeper of forgotten tales and curator of nightmares. You've wandered into my domain, where each week I unearth a fresh horror from the depths of human imagination. In these darkened halls, stories wait like hungry shadows. Each tale we've collected whispers of terrors both ancient and new. From crumbling mansions where something skitters behind the walls, to that strange text message you received at 3 a.m. from a number that shouldn't exist. So gather close, the candles are lit, the shadows grow long, and the witching hour is upon us. Are you prepared to face what lurks in the darkest recesses of Carman's Crypt? Lock your doors, steel your nerves, and remember, here, every fear comes to life. This is Carman's Crypt. Your sanctuary of scares awaits. The driveway crackled like broken teeth under the tires. 17-year-old Sadie heard it from the kitchen where she stood washing dishes. That distinctive sound of gravel being crushed, rolled, displaced. She had been listening to music through her earbuds, some playlist that made her feel older than she was, more sophisticated, the kind of music she'd never play when her mother was home. Songs about desire and danger, about girls who left small towns and never looked back. But her mother wasn't home. None of them were. Her father had driven her mother and younger brother to Oklahoma City for Eli's baseball tournament. A 2-day affair that meant hotel rooms and restaurant meals, and a blessed, glorious freedom that Sadie had been anticipating for weeks. She had manufactured a migraine with practiced expertise, clutching her temples with such convincing agony that her mother's face had creased with maternal concern, and permission to stay behind had emerged like a gift wrapped in guilt. Now the house was hers. 36 hours of possibility stretched ahead like an empty highway under a moonless sky. She pulled out an earbud and listened, her hands still submerged in the cooling dishwater. The gravel sounds had stopped. Through the kitchen window above the sink, she could see nothing but the elm trees that bordered their property, their leaves creating that specific green darkness of rural Arkansas in late summer. The kind of darkness that seemed alive, breathing. The cicadas screamed their endless song, a sound that had formed the backdrop to every summer of her life, but now seemed ominous in its intensity, as if the insects were trying to warn her of something. Probably just someone turning around, she thought, returning to the dishes with forced casualness. People did that sometimes on their dead-end road, mistaking it for the highway entrance a quarter-mile back. It happened at least once a week. But even as she tried to convince herself, something primitive in her hind brain was sending out alarm signals. The way animals knew about earthquakes before they happened. The way birds fled before storms. Her hands moved through the dishwater, but every nerve in her body was suddenly alert, listening. Sadie returned to the dishes, but something made her leave the other earbud dangling against her collarbone. Some instinct her body understood before her mind did. Her grandmother, dead now for 3 years, used to talk about women's intuition as if it were a sixth sense, a gift passed down through generations. When your stomach drops for no reason, she'd said, you pay attention. That's your ancestors talking. Sadie's stomach had dropped. When the knock came, it was so soft she almost missed it. 3 gentle taps, almost apologetic. The kind of knock a friend might make, someone who didn't want to startle you. She dried her hands on a dish towel, and as she walked through the living room, past the sagging couch and her father's recliner with its permanent impression of his body, past the family photos on the wall that documented her transformation from gap-toothed child to sullen teenager, she noticed how long the shadows had grown. The sun was setting earlier now, summer beginning its slow surrender to autumn. Soon it would be dark. Through the screen door she could make out a figure, a man, tall and thin, standing at an odd angle on the porch. Something about his posture was wrong, though she couldn't immediately identify why. It was as if he were standing slightly off-center from where a person should naturally stand, or as if he were holding himself in a way that wasn't quite comfortable, wasn't quite human. "Yes?" she called through the screen, not opening it. Her voice sounded small, swallowed by the cicada chorus. "Hey there!" His voice was smooth, friendly, young-sounding. The voice of someone who might deliver packages or sell magazine subscriptions. Safe, unthreatening. "Sorry to bother you. I think I might have the wrong address." Sadie stepped closer to the door, close enough to see him more clearly now. He was maybe mid-20s, wearing jeans and a faded band t-shirt, some group she didn't recognize, though she prided herself on her music knowledge. His hair was dark, carefully styled in that way that was supposed to look careless, the kind of deliberate messiness that took time and product to achieve. Sunglasses hid his eyes, even though the porch was shaded, even though the light was failing. Who wore sunglasses at dusk? "What address are you looking for?" she asked, keeping her voice neutral, helpful, the way she had been taught. Always be polite, always be accommodating. He smiled, and it was a good smile, crooked, self-deprecating, the kind of smile that made you want to smile back. "You know, that's the embarrassing part. My phone died about 10 miles back, and I've been driving on memory. I'm looking for the Henderson place. Old friend from high school said they lived out this way. Said I couldn't miss it, but clearly I'm an idiot." He laughed, inviting her to share in his harmless incompetence. "There's no Hendersons on this road," Sadie said. "Maybe try back toward the main highway. There's a Henderson Road near there. Easy mistake." Henderson Road. He snapped his fingers, and the sound was too loud, too sharp. "That's probably it. Man, I feel stupid." He leaned against the porch railing. Casual. Too casual. The way someone might lean when they are settling in for a conversation, not preparing to leave. "Hey, would you mind if I used your phone real quick? Just need to pull up the address. Won't take a second." Sadie's hand was already reaching for the lock when something stopped her. Maybe it was the way he was standing, not like someone embarrassed and lost, but like someone waiting, patient, sure of something. Or maybe it was the way his smile hadn't reached his eyes, even behind those sunglasses. Or maybe it was her grandmother's voice in her head. "When your stomach drops for no reason, you pay attention." "I can look it up for you," she said, pulling her phone from her pocket, keeping the screen door between them. "What's the first name?" "That's really nice of you," he said, and she noticed he hadn't answered her question. "You know what? Don't worry about it. I'll figure it out." He paused, shifting his weight, and now she could see what had bothered her about his posture. He was coiled, ready, like a snake about to strike. "You home alone?" The question was so direct it felt like cold water down her spine, like a hand reaching through the screen to touch her throat. "No," she lied, trying to channel her mother's authoritative tone. "My dad's in the back, working in the shed. He'll be in any minute." "That so?" The smile hadn't changed, but something in his posture had. A subtle shift, like a cat adjusting its haunches before a pounce. His head tilted, considering her. "Funny. I didn't see a shed when I pulled up, and I've been out here for a bit, just looking at your place. Nice and quiet out here. Private. No neighbors for what? Quarter mile in any direction? Nobody to hear anything. And I watched your dad drive away this morning. Saw your mom and your little brother, too. All packed up for a trip. Baseball tournament, right?" The world seemed to contract around her. The air grew thicker, harder to breathe. Sadie's mouth went dry. "You should go." "Should I?" He took off his sunglasses now, and his eyes were pale, gray or blue. She couldn't tell in the dimness, but they held a terrible emptiness that made her think of winter lakes, of frozen things waiting beneath the ice. They held hers with an intensity that felt physical, like hands gripping her face. Or should I come in? We could talk for a while, get to know each other. I feel like we already know each other, Sadie. Feel like I've known you for a long time." Her name in his mouth was a violation, a theft. He had taken something that belonged to her and made it his. "I never told you my name." "Didn't you?" He tilted his head, considering, and the gesture was too fluid, too serpentine. "Maybe I saw it on the mailbox, or maybe I just knew. Sometimes you just know things about people, like how I know you're here alone, how I know your family won't be back until tomorrow evening, Sunday night, probably around 7 or 8 o'clock. How I know you've been waiting for something like this. Not this exactly, but something. Some break in the routine. Some proof that you're more than just a good daughter in a nowhere town. You feel trapped, don't you? Like you're suffocating, like everybody wants a piece of you but nobody actually sees you." He was right, and that made it worse. Those were her thoughts, her private resentments, her secret desperations. How did he know? "Get off my porch." Her voice shook, but she tried to inject it with certainty. "Get off my porch or I'm calling the police." He laughed, and it was a genuine laugh, delighted, as if she'd told a wonderful joke. "There it is. There's that fire. I knew you had it. Saw it in all those photos you post. You trying to look dangerous, mysterious. All the black eyeliner, those vintage band t-shirts, those captions about feeling like you don't belong. But you're not dangerous, are you? You're sweet, safe, good grades, good girl, never any real trouble. Honor roll even. Bet your parents trust you completely. Bet they think you're the responsible one, the one they don't have to worry about." Photos? He had been watching her online, studying her. For how long? Weeks? Months? She thought of all the selfies she'd posted, the locations she'd tagged, the details she'd casually revealed, the lake where she and her friends swam, the coffee shop where she worked Saturday mornings, the route she jogged. She had handed him a map of her life. Sadie stepped back from the door, her mind racing, fragmenting into panic. Her phone was in her hand. She could call 911, but her thumbs felt frozen, clumsy, and some deeper instinct told her that if she looked away from him, if she broke eye contact even for a second, something terrible would happen. That he was held at bay only by her attention, like a nightmare that couldn't move as long as you were looking at it. "Don't do that," he said softly, and somehow he knew what she was thinking, could read her intentions in her body language, her breathing, the micro-expressions that flickered across her face. "Don't make this ugly. I don't want it to be ugly, Sadie. I really don't. I just want to talk. I drove a long way to meet you. Did you know that? 300 miles. I've been thinking about you for weeks now, planning this, ever since I saw that video you posted, the one at the lake, with your friends. You were laughing, and the sun was in your hair, and you did this thing where you threw your head back and closed your eyes, and I thought, that's her. That's the one. That's the girl who understands." The one for what? The question escaped before she could stop it, and she hated herself for asking, for engaging, for giving him what he wanted. His smile widened. The one who understands. See, most people, they're asleep. They go through life in this fog, following rules, playing roles. They pretend to be happy. They pretend to be satisfied. They lie to themselves every single day and call it normal. But some people, special people, they're awake. They see the performance for what it is. They feel the cage they're in. And I think you're one of them, Sadie. I think under all this, he gestured at the house, the road, the town, everything. You're someone else entirely. Someone who wants out. Someone who's been screaming inside for years. He wasn't wrong, and that was the most terrifying part. How many nights had she lain in bed imagining escape? College in a city far away. Chicago maybe. Or Portland. An apartment with walls she chose. A life that belonged entirely to her. How many times had she felt like a costume she couldn't take off? Like she was playing a role in a production that would never end? How many times had she wanted to just leave, to walk away from this small town with its small minds and smaller futures? But not like this. Never like this. That doesn't mean I want this, whatever this is. This is your chance, he said simply, spreading his hands like a priest offering benediction. I'm giving you an out. Come with me, right now. We'll drive, anywhere you want. Mexico, Canada, California. You can finally be who you really are. No more pretending, no more lying, no more being what they want you to be. I don't even know you. Sure you do. He leaned closer to the screen, and she could smell something now. Cologne, maybe. Something expensive and cloying, or cigarette smoke. And underneath that, something purely organic. Something animal. Sweat and hunger. I'm the thing you think about at night. The possibility. The what if. I'm every fantasy you've never told anyone. Every dark thought you've pushed away. Every time you've imagined what it would be like to just disappear. To become someone new. That's me. I'm the door out of your cage, Sadie. I'm the key you've been looking for. She should scream. The nearest neighbors was the Parkers, 1/4 mile down the road, and old Mrs. Parker was hard of hearing. But maybe if Sadie screamed loud enough, long enough, someone would hear. Instead, she found herself asking, what if I say no? His expression didn't change, but the quality of his smile did. It became something else, something with edges and teeth and terrible intent. Then I come in anyway, and it stops being an invitation. It becomes something else, something neither of us will enjoy as much. Well, he paused, reconsidering. I might enjoy it, but you won't. I promise you that. The threat was laid bare, unmistakable. No more pretense. Sadie's mind split into multiple tracks, all racing simultaneously. One track was calculating how fast she could run to her parents' bedroom, where her father kept a hunting rifle. Could she load it in time? Did she even remember how? Another track was negotiating. If she went with him willingly, maybe she could find an opportunity to escape, flag down a passing car, slip away at a gas station, leave a note, a sign, breadcrumbs. A third track, quieter but growing louder, was simply screaming. You're thinking you'll outsmart me, he said, reading her again with that terrible accuracy, that you'll find a way out once we're away from here. And maybe you will. You're clever. I can see that. But probably you won't. And here's what you need to understand, Sadie. This is happening. This moment right now. This is the moment your life changes forever. The only choice you have is whether it happens your way or mine. Whether you walk out that door with me like a woman making a choice, or whether I drag you out screaming. Either way, we're leaving together, but one way preserves your dignity. The other way... He trailed off, shrugging. A car engine sounded in the distance, growing louder. And for a moment, Sadie's heart leapt with a desperate hope. Someone was coming down the road. Someone would see his car, see him on her porch, wonder what was happening. The man's expression flickered. Frustration, recalculation. He glanced toward the sound, and in profile she could see that his face wasn't quite as young as she'd first thought. There were lines around his eyes, creases around his mouth. He was older than she had realized, just good at seeming youthful, just good at seeming safe. He looked back at her, and something had changed in his eyes. Urgency now, where before there had been patient certainty. One way or another, he said quietly, intensely. Today, or next week, or the week after that. I'm patient, Sadie. I can wait, and I know where you live. I know your routine. I know when you're alone. I know you work Saturdays at Brood Awakening from 8 to 2. I know you jog Tuesday and Thursday evenings at River Park. I know you park in the back lot at school near the art building. I know everything about you. You can come with me now. Make it mean something. Or you can make me wait and turn this into something uglier. Your choice." The car passed without slowing, its engine fading back into the cicada drone, and with it went Sadie's hope. They were alone again, just the two of them and the gathering dark. "Come with me now," he said, his voice dropping to something almost tender, almost kind. "And it's an adventure. Make me wait. And it's something else, something worse, much worse." Sadie looked at this stranger who'd mapped her life, who'd studied her like prey, who had learned her patterns and vulnerabilities and secret dreams. She thought about her mother's warnings, always dismissed as paranoia. Don't talk to strangers. Don't post too much online. Don't be alone. She thought about the true crime podcasts she listened to, the ones where the narrator always asked the same questions. Why didn't she just run? Why didn't she fight back? Why did she go with him? Because she understood now, in the moment. Nothing was simple. In the moment, your mind did strange calculations. In the moment, you tried to negotiate with the inevitable, because the alternative was too terrible to face. "If I go," she heard herself say, and the words seemed to come from somewhere else, some other Sadie who was already broken and compliant. "You promise you won't hurt me?" His smile was radiant, victorious, the smile of someone who'd just won a game he'd been playing all along. "I promise," he said, and they both knew it was a lie. They both knew exactly what that promise was worth. Sadie's hand moved to the lock. The deadbolt slid open with a sound like finality, like a coffin closing. The door swung outward on hinges that suddenly seemed to scream. He stood on the threshold, close enough to touch, and extended his hand like a gentleman asking for a dance. His palm was pale, his fingers long and thin. There was a tattoo on his wrist, numbers, she noticed, like a date or coordinates, or maybe a count. "Ready?" he asked. She looked past him to where his car was parked. A dark sedan, anonymous, the kind you'd never remember, the kind that appeared in police reports after the fact. A dark-colored sedan was seen leaving the area, the kind of sentence that ended up in newspaper articles with her yearbook photo and the word missing. She looked at the road beyond, empty in both directions, stretching away into a darkness that seemed absolute now that the sun had truly set. She looked at the house behind her, with its familiar furniture and family photos, and the life she'd been so eager to escape just hours before. That life seemed precious now, sacred in its ordinariness. Dishes in the sink, laundry in the basket, her mother's reading glasses on the coffee table, her brother's video games scattered across the floor. Evidence of people who loved her, who would come home to find her gone. "No," she said. "I'm not going with you." Something shifted in his eyes. Surprise, definitely, and anger held in check, and something else, respect, maybe, or interest, as if she had finally done something unexpected, something worthy of attention. "Sadie, no!" Louder now, finding strength in the word, in the refusal. "You can break in, you can try to drag me out, but I'm not walking out that door with you. I'm not making this easy. I'm not going to be complicit in whatever you're planning. You're going to have to take what you want because I'm not giving it to you." For a long moment, they stood, frozen, girl and predator, prey and hunter, locked in mutual recognition. She could see him recalculating, reassessing. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She was supposed to be easy, grateful even, grateful to be chosen. Then, from somewhere deep in the house, a phone began to ring. The landline, rarely used, ancient and shrill and somehow accusatory. Its tone pierced the tension like a knife. They both knew it was probably a coincidence, a telemarketer or wrong number. but it broke the spell. Sadie slammed the door and threw the deadbolt, and then she ran. Behind her, she heard his fist hit the door, once, twice, testing its strength. Then the terrible sound of the screen door being ripped from its frame, metal shrieking against metal. She grabbed the receiver in the kitchen, her hand shaking so badly she almost dropped it. "Hello?" Her voice was ragged, desperate, broken. "Sadie? Honey, it's Mom. I forgot to ask you if you'd water the tomatoes. They're looking... Someone's trying to get in the house." The words tumbled out in a rush, tripping over each other. "He's been watching me. He knows my name, Mom. He knows everything about me. He's trying to get in, please." Her mother's voice transformed instantly, sharpening into command, all softness gone. "Lock yourself in the bathroom. Now. Right now. I'm calling 911. Your father's already headed to the car. Do you hear me, Sadie? Do you understand? We're coming. 20 minutes. We're coming right now." Sadie dropped the phone, didn't even hang it up, just let it fall, and ran through the house. Behind her, she heard the main door being tested, kicked. The wood was solid. Her father had installed it himself, proud of its strength, the way it had cost more but would last forever. But she didn't know how long it would hold against determined assault. She locked herself in the bathroom and climbed into the tub, pulling the shower curtain closed like the flimsiest of shields, like a child hiding from monsters, knowing all along that shower curtains couldn't protect you from anything real. She clutched her phone, watching as minutes crawled past with agonizing slowness. 1 minute. 2. 3. The pounding on the door had stopped. The house was silent except for her breathing, harsh and fast, and on the edge of hyperventilation, and the cicada's endless scream. And now she could hear another sound. Footsteps. Slow. Methodical. Walking around the house. Testing windows. A window shattered somewhere. The living room, maybe, or her bedroom. The sound of glass falling. Tinkling. Musical. Then silence again. Heavy silence. Waiting silence. He was inside. She could hear him moving through the house now, his footsteps deliberate, unhurried. He knew she was here, knew she was trapped. This was a game now, and he was enjoying it. This was the part he liked. "Sadie," he called out, his voice sing-song, playful. Come out wherever you are. You made your choice. Now I get to make mine." She pressed her hand over her mouth, trying to silence her breathing, trying to disappear. In the distance, impossibly far, impossibly faint, she heard sirens. Her mother had called 911. Help was coming. If she could just wait, just hide, just survive. The bathroom door handle rattled. Then his voice, right outside, soft and intimate. "I know you're in there. I can hear you breathing. I can smell your fear. It's okay, Sadie. Open the door. Let's finish this conversation." The door shuddered as he kicked it. Once, twice. The wood splintered. The sirens were getting louder. 3 times. The lock broke. The door swung open. And then, the sirens were very loud now, right outside. And there was shouting, multiple voices. "Police! Drop to the ground! Hands where we can see them!" Police would later find his car full of items that didn't belong to him. A collection of jewelry, driver's licenses, school IDs, trophies from 12 different girls across 4 states. Girls who'd never come home. Girls whose photos appeared on news programs with that horrible word, missing. But in the bathtub, in the terrible moment before the police broke in, Sadie didn't know any of that yet. She only knew she'd stood at a threshold and stepped back, that she'd been offered an escape that was really a trap, that she'd almost believed his promise that she was special, chosen, understood, when the only thing he had understood was that she was young and alone, and trusting enough to almost open a door. When her parents finally arrived, frantic and terrified. They found her in the back of an ambulance, wrapped in a shock blanket, giving her statement to a detective. Her mother held her while her father spoke to the officers, his voice shaking with rage and relief and horror at what had almost happened. "You did the right thing," her mother kept saying, rocking her like she was small again, like she could protect her from everything. "You were so smart, so brave, baby, so brave." But Sadie didn't feel smart or brave. She felt like she had looked into something vast and hungry, something that wore a human face but wasn't human at all, something that had seen her, really seen her, and found her wanting nothing but to consume her, to add her to its collection. The sound of gravel under tires, she would hear it in her nightmares for years to come. That specific crunch and roll that meant someone was coming. Someone was always coming, in the dreams. And she would stand at the door, her hand on the lock, knowing she was about to make the wrong choice, unable to stop herself from opening it, from stepping through, from walking toward the dark sedan and the smiling man, and the terrible end she could never quite remember when she woke up gasping. But she hadn't opened it. Not really. Not all the way. She had stepped back. She had said no. And some nights, when the dreams were especially bad, when she woke to the sound of gravel that wasn't there, and a knock that existed only in her memory, that was enough. Some nights. And so, dear listeners, we emerge from another dark corner of Carman's crypt. But remember, the horrors you've heard tonight are merely echoes of the terrors that await in the shadows of your mind. If you enjoyed your stay in the crypt, why not invite a friend to join us next week? After all, fear is best when shared. Leave a review if you dare, or share your own tales of terror on my social media, or on my website, carman-carrion.com. Who knows? Your nightmares might just become my next story. Until next time, keep checking under your bed. And remember, in Carman's crypt, every fear comes to life, and no one is truly safe. Sweet dreams, if you can still sleep at all.